Well, welcome back. Reports of anti-Semitism have soared in both the UK and the US, and indeed around the world since the Israel-Hamas war began. Many pro-Palestine supporters, however, believe that criticism of Israel is being censored by the claims of hate speech. Last night, Israeli President Isaac Herzog told me that a pro-Palestine march planned on the UK's Armistice Day should be banned. So are claims of anti-Semitism and Islamophobia being used to stifle legitimate criticism and indeed free speech, or are the tensions on our streets in real danger of boiling over? Well, here to debate all this is the founder of the End Jew Hatred movement, Brooke Goldstein, the host of System Update, Glenn Greenwald, and the author of Go Back to Where You Come From, commentator Wajahat Ali. Welcome to all of you. Let me start with you, Brooke. I want to read you what you tweeted me recently, because I think this will set the tone for this debate. You said, Piers, I've been on the show. I know you to be a fair journalist, but I don't understand why you're giving these Islamo-Nazis such a large platform.
You're hearing it from a professional right now.
Their venom. There comes a point when you have heard their message and you've done your duty. Would you likewise host every single member of the SS in Nazi Germany for the sake of debunking? I hate to say you're not doing a good job at it. Their lies and propaganda are so carefully crafted that the more you put Hamas apologies on, the more effective they become. Asking people to debate them, to debate how many babies were killed, whether it's by beheading or by stabbing or by burning babies alive, is tasteless and disgraces the memory of the innocent Jewish people who've been killed. At what point does your journalism become a propaganda tool for terrorism? They send their best and brightest to you to engage in mental masturbation, acrobatics, and they're running circles around you. With all due respect, enough. In the battle between good and evil, there is no journalistic obligation to continue to put evil on a platform to be debated. So, I mean, that seems to me a pretty strong way to start this debate, because what you seem to be saying is that so long as I have pro-Israeli voices, that's fine. As long as I have a lot of people like you who just have one view of this, then I'm a fair journalist. But the moment I stray into people who are pro-Palestinian in a very passionate manner, then somehow I'm failing in my journalistic duty.
Can we pause it really
and I
quick?
would say that
Bro, he just fucking ties her up with a bow right before she even gets started. I'm like, hey man, like, congrats to you for letting her fucking, like, you know. But we could have made this like a quick segment. He's like, so very well, then I'm gonna take your advice, but this time I'm gonna flip it on its head. We're gonna say goodbye to you, and we're gonna have these other two gentlemen discuss. But anyway.
Yeah, and Piers is probably especially kind of irked by her tweet and her accusation, because he's gone out of his way to ask every single one of his pro-Palestinian guests, do you condemn Hamas? Like, he goes full fucking Onion article every time, and is like, makes them defend or condemn Hamas. So he knows. He's like, I made sure all my pro-Palestinian guests weren't pro-Hamas. I asked them to their face, and you're still accusing me of bringing on anti-Semites and pro-Hamas people? What the hell? What is going on? Can I not win? Am I not just doing my job here as a journalist? So even as someone as he is I'm gonna guess a pretty staunch supporter of Israel, at least throughout his career, maybe now due to some of the conversations he's been having, maybe his mind is changing. Let's hope. But I feel like up until this point, he's been a pretty loyal, soldier, and he's for the most part kind of stuck it out for Israel, done his job. Now he's just trying to broach the conversation, just trying to do his job as a host, have on people from different sides, and he's still being accused of having on pro-Hamas people, even though he's explicitly made sure to ask them to their face. Yeah, you can tell that kind of irks him, and I understand that. I mean, this lady definitely has Karen energy. She's taking to Twitter to, tattletale about how he's having on people she doesn't like. That's always annoying.
Journalistic duty. And I would say that right there is part of the problem, Brooke, because I have tried to turn this show into a genuinely fair platform for all sides, all arguments, all voices. And I think we've been getting the audiences that reflects, which is people like it. They like to hear both sides. Why don't you?
So, Piers, thank you for bringing up that tweet. First, I want to say that's not what I'm saying at all. There's pro-Palestinian, there's pro-Israel, but you've been having pro-Hamas people on your platform, and you're giving them an opportunity to spew their virulent anti-Semitism and their propaganda that justifies Hamas terrorism. It's one thing to debate issues of geopolitics and national...
Brooke, Can you name one?
Right in front of me, I can't. I was replying to something that
Just name
you
one.
had.
Already got her. Can you name? You got to know this shit is coming. Here's what's crazy to me, guys. Maybe it's just that we like deal with people who will call your bullshit on a regular basis. Like if you're talking to somebody and you just say random shit, for the most part, especially if they disagree with you, they're gonna be like what? And then she's like, oh, I don't have a single example, bro. You're already fucked. You better have like 6 or 7 ironclad examples if you're going to go up on this panel and not get chewed up and spit out and then left behind so they can pick their teeth with your fucking mouth. It's like, your argument is already shredded to pieces. Why did you tweet that shit then? If you're saying that he's constantly having Hamas voices on, but you don't have a single fucking example ready, you could literally have printed out a fucking bunch of papers and start going through it. That always adds to your argument if you really like want to get crazy. They don't even have to be real examples, but you would have thought that this woman coming in with all of her, hustle and bustle would have at least brought at least a little bit of paperwork.
Totally.
A little bit of receipts. Maybe
she couldn't even name anyone. She couldn't even
Not
have said
even one. She didn't even say like either of the 2 dudes on this panel. She could have been like Glenn Greenwald's pro Hamas.
Well, she's about to actually name this other guy and try to pretend like, oh god, I don't want to spoil it.
Sure.
It's hilarious. But yeah, totally ridiculous. It kind of reminds me of that debate we covered between Matt Taibbi and Mehdi Hassan, where Mehdi Hassan brought Matt Taibbi on to discuss his tweet about Elon Musk in India, and then when Mehdi Hassan brought it up, Matt Taibbi was like, well, I didn't come on here to debate that, even though that's literally what they fucking like set up the debate to talk about.
Say when you fucking cook them. Remember when we had the cow guy on, and he was like fucking trying to lecture us about how Medicare for all was impossible and that you could just give everybody a fucking unicorn. And I was like, unicorns aren't real. Universal healthcare is, and we swallowed him whole. And then he's just like, well, I didn't come on here to talk about this. And I'm like, yeah, it's because you got fucking chewed up and spit back out and you tried your bullshit.
Right, exactly, same energy. But yeah, this is about to get really funny.
Someone on that I was
name one guest I've had in a month.
I don't have the names on me right now, but I can name someone who is on right now.
With all due respect, Brooke, with all respect, you tweeted this lengthy attack on me and my journalistic rigor.
Okay, so I will talk about
and I'm simply asking you if you're going to do
the people you have on right now.
Hang on, Brooke. Hang on. If you're going to do that, I don't think it's unreasonable to say which of my pro-Palestinian guests expressed support for Hamas, because I must have missed that.
Wajahat Ali, who is on the show right now with us, for example, has deep connections to the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood is the mother of all terrorist organizations. It spawned Hamas, a designated terrorist group, which is currently killing both Gazan and Israeli civilians. Wajahat Ali.
You're probably thinking, by the way, like, oh, this is a pretty grave accusation. She must have some real receipts to prove these alleged connections to the fucking Muslim Brotherhood. Just wait until she has to provide some receipts. You guys are going to shit your pants.
Digging her own grave every single step of the way.
Yeah.
Who is on the platform with me right now, and your audience needs to know this, sat on the board of the Muslim Student Association, which is widely known to be a Muslim Brotherhood entity. He also has writings that are cross-posted on the English language website of the Muslim Brotherhood. He has cross-posted authors who call for the eradication of the Jewish state. He's a leading writer at CAP, the Center for American Progress, which...
Center for American Progress, bro. So Lisa worked for the Center for American Progress.
It's like the most mainstream fucking liberal think tank in the world. But yeah, Center for American Progress, and then what was the other one? The Muslim Student Association.
This is Muslim Student Association, bro. She literally trots out. She was like, "Yeah, bro, this is insanity." And do you know what it is, guys? Do you know what it is? This is what you call racism, clear as day.
Straight up.
She's like, "Where's the pro-Hamas guy? That guy, the brown one. Fucking this guy's Muslim. Oh, I got an example for you. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Oh, and the way that she just says it over and over again, it's kind of like the fucking like the Muslim Brotherhood. It's like oh, what? Like the fucking the Muslim brother. It's like no regular person that's watching this knows what the fuck you're talking about when you say that. You're just trying to make people afraid via Islamophobia.
It sounds like something that's like not even real, that Fox News just convinced their audience to freak out about. Oh, the Muslim Brotherhood, they're coming.
The radical
They're coming.
Islamist Muslim
Yeah.
Brotherhood.
Remember when they used to talk about like, oh, they're gonna bring Sharia law to America?
Yeah,
like
dude,
it's that
literally.
kind of shit.
With Barack Obama, by the way. Dude, unfortunately, my grandfather was really big into those conspiracy theories.
Also has
Let me
ties
go
to
to
the
a-
Muslim Brotherhood.
let me go
he
to
has
him.
criticized cracking down on the Muslim.
Also,
All right.
why does she keep saying brotherhood? Like, is that just her accent? Like, is
That's
she
what
from
Lynn
the
Stacks was
South or
saying. She
something?
was like, oh yeah, she's the Brotherhood. Yeah, this lady does. I mean,
He's a leading writer at CAP, the Center for American Progress, which
All right.
also has
I-
ties
I-
to the Muslim
that would have
Brotherhood.
broke me right there. I would have lost it right there. He's a leading writer at CAP. That sounds like an insult that goes pretty hard until she follows up with the fact that that's the Center for American Project. Like that sounds like a bad like line at an open mic night. It's like, yeah, you're the editor in chief of CAP Enterprises, brah. Everything you say is lie. But like, it wasn't even that. She busts out Center for American Progress, literally one of the most blasé, milquetoast liberal outlets. Fucking
And pro-Israel outlets. You think the Center for American Progress isn't pro-Israel? Are you fucking kidding me?
I mean, yeah.
Let me go
He
to
has
him.
criticized cracking down on the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. And of course, he just published an article saying that he's against Hamas because it's politically
Okay,
expedient to him,
Brooke,
but he is
Her
connected
chief
to the
witness.
Muslim
Before-
Brotherhood.
okay,
That's who you have on
So
your show
before
right now.
before I go to him, you've just said he'd just written a piece condemning Hamas. So you kind of kill your own argument. Let me
Love
go,
how I love
to-
how he says Hamas. Like he calls him like Hamas. Like, you know,
yeah, Hamas.
like imagine if we just had like a podunk version. Like that's what's crazy about England is like you can have any accent and get let on TV. They don't do that shit in America. Like you can't be like you know. Well, I guess George Bush was the exception to that rule. Never mind. I'll rest my case. Let's just play.
Well, he's sucking and blowing at the
Okay,
same
let me
time
go to the man
because
you've just
that is
been-
the
let me go
propaganda
to
tool
Wajahat.
that they are using right now.
Let me go to the man you've been accusing. Wajahat, what do you say to that?
Well, first of all, excellent pronunciation of my name, Brooke. Thank you. Also, it's pretty amazing that for a human rights lawyer, you really don't seem to care much about human beings who happen to be Palestinians or Muslim or Arab. It's like a fireman who's actually
Of
an
course
arsonist.
I do.
But thank you.
I risked my
I'm
life
not-
to make a movie
I'm sure-
about Arab children. I risked
Let him-
my
Did you hear that? By the way, she said, "I risked my life to make a movie about Arab children." Not to, she didn't risk her life to help them or save them or do anything other than fucking apparently point a
Gavin
camera at
got
them.
in there for a close up, and I don't know if you know this, but if you go around them, the IDF they just wail on you pretty indiscriminately around there. So it's all pretty hazardous. You know, it's like yeah. It's like, no, she's like a white woman that like one time ventured into the hood, like you know, just like you know.
Yeah,
Like oh
literally.
man, she totally
field
like
trip.
bro that it always goes back to that bit, that Kansas City bit where it's like the white lady walking down the street, right? Every time she looks left and she's like, "Is this truce? Are we on truce? This is dangerous. I might get shot by a drive-by." And it's just like, oh yeah, I went there and I took a couple of pictures and I told my kids, don't ever end up there. That's where the bad people go. Yeah, that was humanitarian work he did. I went and shoved. I took all these desperate fucking, you know, vulnerable children that don't understand what's going on. Yeah, I went and I said, I'm going to use you for my propaganda piece, buddy. Your suffering is going to net some benefits for me and the Israeli government.
What film was
I'm sure
that?
she doesn't remember, right?
What was its
you
purpose? I wonder if its purpose was to.
know, she can't recall right now, Gavin. She's not sure what the film was called, but she was a part of it.
Thank you.
I risked my
I'm
life
not-
to make a movie
I'm sure-
about Arab children. I risked
him
my
speak,
life
Brooke.
to
Let him
make a
speak.
movie about
Yeah,
Arab
mute her,
children
bro.
and was given an award
Brooke, let
by
him
the
speak,
United
please.
Nations for my advocacy work for
All right,
Palestinian children.
Let him
So
answer.
good job on doing your research.
Let him answer you, please.
Oh yeah, now she's calling people
You
out for
are
he's
the
research.
hero and you are the
slandering me.
victim. But let me say the following. Let me say that the person who accused me of being the Muslim Brotherhood and the person who's accused us, anyone who's pro-Palestinian, of being a Nazi, which is, by the way, what Brian Mass said, a Republican. He said
I
there's
never
no such
said
thing
that.
as
That is
Palestinian
absolute
civilians because
slander and
they're
libel.
just like Nazis, right? But anyway,
This lady
let me
that-
say this.
okay, pause it,
Piers
pause it,
Morgan
one more
show,
time.
I
This lady, she wants to be the lawyer. She wants to be the like, oh, that's libelous. It's like, lady, you just made baseless accusations against fucking Piers Morgan's journalistic credibility. This guy's fucking like, entire career, when you were asked for receipts, you said, well, he published this piece that said he actually wasn't pro-Hamas. So you shred your own argument before it even gets to you this time, right? And then you have no evidence for anything else, but you want to be like, that statement you just made was libelous. Get the fuck out of here, bro.
Bro, can you let
That you've
Mujahid
done.
speak,
Do you
please?
condemn the Muslim Brotherhood?
Let me say this. I'm going to go a step forward. Look at this. This is what I'm going to do, because I've seen people with my melanin on Piers Show. I've proactively been asked to condemn Hamas. I condemn Hamas. I condemn Hezbollah. I condemn Islamic Jihad. I condemn Muslim Brotherhood. I condemn chocolate hummus. I condemn anti-Semitism. I condemn Islamophobia. I condemn white supremacy. I also condemn
Glenn's having
Israel's
the time of his
occupation.
life.
I condemn settler violence against Palestinians that have killed over 100 people on the West Bank. I condemn Netanyahu using dehumanizing language that you use, such as calling every Palestinian Amalek. I condemn the heritage minister saying that he wants to drop a nuke on Gaza. I have condemned all of that. Do you, Brooke, join me in condemning everything that I have condemned? Because I think as a human rights lawyer, anyone who cares about humanity, they should condemn everything that I have condemned. Brooke,
100%.
do you condemn?
So why, if you condemn the Muslim Brotherhood, are you publishing with the Center for American Progress?
Why the fuck?
Them.
And why the
Center
fuck
for
does she keep
American
saying
Progress.
brotherhood? I have no idea every other word she pronounces just like a normal like fucking white lady or whatever. But then every time,
Wow. Excuse me, do not erase her identity. That is a wow. This is a woman from the urban epicenter of this country, and she's a native to Israel. No, she's no.
They should condemn everything that I have condemned. Brooke,
100%.
do you condemn?
So why, if you condemn the Muslim Brotherhood, are you publishing with the
Brotherhood.
Center for American Progress, which is strong ties to the Muslim Brotherhood? And why do you allow your papers to be cross-posted on Muslim Brotherhood websites? Why have you denied Jewish indigeneity to Judea?
Okay,
Why
you know
have
what, Brooke, I'm going to get it.
blamed
I'm going to
the
jump in
United
here.
States for
I'm going to jump in because we're
ISIS?
straying. You keep
come
mentioning.
and you say these things on television,
Brooke.
but you write.
by the way, she really is just the perfect kind of like manifestation or personification of the Israeli propaganda effort at this point, which is like she's not even interested in having a discussion. She's not even interested in actually hashing out her ideas, let alone winning an argument or anything like that. She's basically just short circuiting this entire fucking interview like a broken record, flailing around, accusing everyone surrounding her of things that are not true, calling them Nazis, saying they're pro-Hamas, even though they've literally just written articles condemning Hamas. Like, it's a goddamn parody. And it honestly couldn't be better for us, those of us who want to shine a light on exactly how disingenuous and propagandistic the Israeli side is in its presentation of the facts. So, I mean, this couldn't be better.
The exact opposite
Yeah, bro,
in your writing.
I'm going to jump in and come to Glenn. He's been waiting very patiently as you guys have been going at it. Glenn, in a way, this kind of is reflective of the debate I thought we should be having. Because it seems to me that a lot of people are simply not prepared to tolerate other views generally in society. We've got to a place where people get cancelled if they don't toe the line, don't have the opinion that a certain group of people have decided is the only opinion that's allowed. How have we got there? How has it been through this war? I mean, to me, watching Twitter, X as it now is in this war, is like this terrible assault on the
Can we
brain.
also really quickly pause it?
It's
Sorry, one more time. I don't know that I forgot the name of the gentleman on the far right next to Glenn. But I do think it's super fucked up because this is basically reflective of the whole argument. And he's saying like two people aren't willing to agree, but it is also on another level. It's this one unhinged crazy lady who's saying a bunch of untrue, unsubstantiated accusations about him and about his support. Meanwhile, supporting the absolute obliteration of Gaza. And yet when he tries to correct the records, it's like, both sides, they just keep squabbling. We can't have a fucking just regular conversation. It's like, what are you talking about? This dude never lost his cool for a second. He literally took his time to do one thing, and that was exactly what she wanted, so she could shove it back to her. She just continues like her hair's on fire, and like he didn't say anything, and but do you condemn the Muslim Brotherhood? You know, and it's just like, all right, lady.
is in this war is like this terrible assault on the brain. It's just people screaming in a self-righteous, often fake news-oriented way, trying to scream their opponents into submission. Where has honest democratic debate gone? What do we do about this?
Yeah, I think you're right that Brooke, your first guest, is a perfect reflection of what has gone so wrong with this discourse ever since October 7th. She did two things that has been really pathological in terms of how we're trying to conduct discourse about a very serious issue. Number one, she equates every person who criticizes Israel or who defends the Palestinian cause of being an Islamic Nazi or somehow being associated with terrorists, as she did with Wajahat, with whom I have a lot of differences, but he has never done anything like that. The idea that the Center for American Progress, can I?
You are doing exactly what you accused me of doing.
You must let him speak.
Are you able to
Brooke, you had a
listen
chance
to
to
other
speak.
people?
I want to hear from Glenn.
The idea that the Center for American Progress is some sort of crypto terrorist group, when in fact it is the most mainstream Democratic Party platform that hosted Benjamin Netanyahu, that completely supports Israel, just like the Democratic Party does, is derangement. And this attempt to accuse everyone of being a bigot or an anti-Semite the minute they express any criticism of Israel, I think is very toxic. But the worst thing, Piers, is that ever since a month ago when this started, we have had a spate of censorship throughout the West aimed only at one side, which is the pro-Palestinian side. France banned all pro-Palestinian protests. You can have pro-Israel protests. You can go and say you think Gaza should be flattened, that all Gazans should be eradicated, like many people say. What you can't do, though, is march in opposition to the French policy. The British Home Secretary said waving a Palestinian flag may be a crime. In the US, they're banning pro-Palestinian groups. So we can have our differences. Obviously, this is a very inflammatory issue, but what we should not do is try and suppress healthy debate through state censorship, through banning one side from expressing themselves, or accusing everybody of being a terrorist and a Nazi because they express criticism for the Israeli government, something which many Jews like myself and many Israelis.
I forgot Glenn was Jewish until I saw this clip. I was like, oh, bro, you're not going to be able to cancel Glenn for this one. Right? Like, but anyway, one of the other things I just wanted to point out was like one of my favorite things about Glenn's just like demeanor and like the way he is as a person is that like he was very respectful that entire time, but I love how annoyed he gets by like just regular old-fashioned rudeness. Like if you just like don't have manners, like I just like she cut him off and he's just like does one of these and he's like, are you able to listen to another person speak? It's like, oh yeah, dude, like no. And it was true, he just waited there like perfectly politely, like, you know, well-mannered, everything. That she comes in like very rude, but he was like, bro, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like I just thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, totally. Damn. God, it's like, do you think her mission was just to go in here and talk over everyone and try to muddy the water so that no one can make a point? Because it's like, it's so immature, it's so childish. Yeah. It's like there's no digging yourself out of this and actually winning on the substance. So at this point, all you can do is just accuse everyone else of being a bigot, and I'm the only one that cares about Jewish people, even though I'm talking to someone who is Jewish. Do
you know the other thing that I think it really is? It's like a parallel. They're closely related, right? But you know how in America, like there are a shitload of racist people and racist politicians who have racist policies, and they want more white people in this country, and they're afraid of prosperous people, of minorities, and they're sure shit afraid of like white people being the minority in the country, right? Because of how historically we've treated minorities, right? But none of them, not even the most deranged fucking right, well, maybe some of the most deranged, but for within the realm of like reasonable discourse, right? You're not allowed to call for just straight up racism, even if you're just Steven Crowder, right? Because it's already been set in stone and rested that is bad, right? Everybody agrees that racism is bad, right? So the conversation is, oh, it's not racist. Well, you know, the policy is very clearly racist, but they have to argue that it's not, because they would lose the argument immediately. Oh, we should just go do racism, right? Like, oh, we should just like discriminate against Mexicans. Like that actually doesn't, well, if you're Donald Trump, you can pull it out still, but you can, you know what I mean? Like that argument, people will resoundingly say, oh, racism is bad, right? But a lot of those same people who will say racism is bad will go and support a racist. It's the exact same thing right here. She supports the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians, but of course she knows that you can't come out and say, unless you're, you know, an Israeli IDF soldier or a fucking higher up official in the Netanyahu regime. But you can't just go on Piers Morgan show and say, I do support the ethnic cleansing. I want to wipe fucking Gaza off the face of the earth and turn it into a parking lot. You can't say that because Pierce's audience would not accept that. So you have to go in and deny that that's what you're doing. And you have to say that it's crazy and it's offensive that you would insinuate that, and oh, that's an anti-Semitic trope that you would insinuate that we would do that. And oh, is it because we're Jewish? And no, it's not. And you know, one of those things.
Totally. 100%.
Do as well.
Okay, let me go to Brooke.
No,
I want to ask
sorry, you're
Brooke.
just
Brooke, I want to
lying.
ask you a question. I'm actually
Is this pro-Palestinian?
okay. Brooke,
The
can I-
murder and bludgeoning of a Jewish man at a pro-Hamas rally? These are not pro-Palestinian rallies. What is banned is pro-Hamas in Europe. Hamas is a designated terrorist group, and you should understand the difference.
Also, it's at this point, from what I understand, still a little bit unclear about what happened to that gentleman who was apparently waving a massive Israeli flag near a pro-Palestinian demonstration. An altercation ensued. I believe there's still an investigation going on to see if what happened was in self-defense or if it was a hate crime. Obviously, if it's a hate crime, then that's disgusting. And even if you are a Zionist, disgusting Israeli pig, you still have the right to, you know, protest or counter protest without fear of violence. That being said, it is, in my opinion, pretty disgusting to bring up that example, even though we don't know the specifics, even though from what I understand, at least when this was recorded, an investigation had not been concluded to determine that in fact it was a hate crime. But yeah, I do think that she's just weaponizing that randomly when of course she's omitting examples of Islamophobic hate crimes, which have also happened recently. But again, don't get brought up.
100%. Look at this one right here. There's no dispute about it, right? That's exactly what the fuck was done. This little boy was murdered, right? And also, do we need to compare the death toll on children when you're looking at the actual occupation? No, it's fucking craziness.
Between that. When you lock students in a library at Cooper's Union and bang on the door and threaten them with violence, that is not free speech. When you beat up Jews because you are projecting your hatred of a foreign government on somebody because of what they look like or what their religion is, that is bigotry. That is not free speech.
Literally
And
nobody on the list. Pause it one more
obviously
time. That would be roundly rejected and fucking summarily like fucking just called out, and whoever was responsible for that would be pilloried and presumably brought to justice. There would be absolutely no home for that on the list. That is literally the definition of anti-Semitism, and absolutely nobody's ever fucking said that was okay or acceptable, because of course it's not.
Yeah, including the people she's lecturing on this panel. Like, yeah, everyone agree. Imagine just sitting there next to these guys and being like, it's bigoted to be a bigot. Like, yeah, thank you. Everyone knows that anti-Semitism is bad, lady.
Yeah, we're with you.
Violence is
Causes
obviously
moral
violence is a
confusion.
crime.
That's
Okay, let me-
Violence is
okay.
a person who-
don't speak at once. I want to bring in.
Protesting for
I want to bring in
Palestine.
Wajahat, please, to
There's
respond to
no-
that.
there's
Let me,
no
Brooke, you can't just
democratic
keep talking.
Palestinian
You've
movement.
made a powerful point.
Okay, so
Let me
this
go to
is-
Wajahat for response.
This is the big difference between you and me, Brooke, and there are many differences. That I have the capacity to empathize with the suffering of the Jewish people and with Palestinians. That when I see anti-Semitism, when I see Jews who are afraid in Europe and in America, I condemn it. When I see Muslims afraid of Islamophobia, I condemn it. When I see Wadia, who was a 6-year-old boy murdered simply because he's Palestinian American, I condemn it. When I see this man, the 69-year-old man, and they're researching it right now to see whether or not it was a hate crime, I will condemn it. The difference between me and you is that when I see dead children, when I see 4,000 Palestinian kids who are killed, it horrifies me. As a human rights lawyer, I'm amazed why this does not horrify you. When you see 4,000 kids killed, this is not shocking. For you, it's collateral damage.
Of not being
Right now, the
by
IDF
deaths.
yesterday said, can I
I'm
finish?
sorry.
Can
This
I
is
the
total
IDF yesterday
slander
said
and untrue.
the IDF
This lady is
yesterday
throwing a
said,
chief
stop interrupting
tantrum
me.
right now. This is wow. This is self-immolation on levels that you rarely get to see. Normally they'll just like boot them from the segment, but I think Piers knows it's too good. He has to let it unfold. He won't even mute her because I think he knows then she would just quit the call and act like she was like fucking persecuted. Which, if anybody's wondering why fucking he hasn't muted her microphone, it's because he doesn't want to give her an out to fucking throw a tantrum and see they cut my mic. They were afraid of what I had to say. They're afraid of what my position. No, so he's just letting her get, you know.
Yeah. And again, she's doing this thing which you already referenced, Zach, where it's like she opened with slander, things that are verifiably false, saying that this guy is, you know, a member of the Muslim Brotherhood, verifiably false. He could actually
Any from the block said he was from the Brotherhood of
the
Muslims.
Brotherhood. Yeah. Anyway, he can actually prove that is not true. If he wanted to, he probably actually could prove that that's libelous. On the other hand, what he is saying, which is that she doesn't care about Palestinian people and their murder, that's not libel. That's a matter of an opinion. You can say that as much as you want. You can scream that from the rooftops. You can, write it in the New York Times. In my opinion, you do not care about Palestinian people. You can't really prove that.
George Bush does not know. Right.
Exactly. You can't really prove that. Even if this lady wants to whine and, complain until the cows come home, it's a matter of opinion. I can say you don't care about whatever I want. It's not something that you can really prove. So yeah, it's hilarious that she opened with actual slander, and now when confronted with an opinion that hurts her feelings, she's accusing him of slander and libel and every other synonym in the book. It's crazy.
Please, IDF yesterday said that of the 10,000 people killed, only 60 were Hamas operatives. So that means that 10,000 people were killed by Israel in the past month, 4,000 children, more kids killed in the past month than in the past 3 years of all war zones, the conflict zones combined. I say it's inhumane and indecent. Do you condemn the 4,000 kids that have been killed? And as of yesterday, the IDF said only 60 people were Hamas operatives. Human rights lawyer, do you condemn it?
The pro-Israel and the pro-so-called Hamas-Palestinian movement is that we mourn the death of all civilians, where the pro-Palestinian Hamas protests after October the 7th were out on the street celebrating the death of dead Jewish civilians. That is the difference.
So
and the other difference between you is that you fail to understand the concept
I want to bring. Sorry,
of cause and effect.
Can you please?
You fail to understand the concept of cause and effect.
It remains my show at the moment. All right, Brooke, that's enough for now. I want to bring Glenn in.
Law is very clear.
Brooke, you've had a chance to respond.
International law is very
Brooke, you've had a chance to respond. Please respect
the
other panelists.
Okay.
Glenn,
yes.
I want to bring
There's not
Glenn
a delay.
Glenn,
There was, in fact, no delay.
Let me ask Glenn.
Yeah.
Glenn, you're
Go ahead.
You're a Jewish man. When you look at what is going on here, I will be completely candid. I've said this to other guests in the last couple of weeks. I've found what happened on October the 7th to be an unbelievable scale of barbaric terrorism beyond anything I've seen in my lifetime, to be honest with you, the way it was done. And I completely understand Israel's not only right, but duty to defend itself. But is there a line here that Israel shouldn't cross in its attempt to eradicate Hamas? When you see 10,000 Palestinians.
We have to pause this one more fucking time, guys. This is the most egregiously charitable framing towards the fucking government of Israel. Like, yes, they were attacked by a rogue militant militia, a terrorist organization, but is there a limit? Or should they be empowered to kill every civilian that stands in their way of a fucking land grab that they've been pursuing for fucking 100 fucking years? And oh yes, and also Hamas is bad. We have to get rid of Hamas. Oh, and we're also just going to keep this land fucking forever, by the way. Yeah, I don't think so. But think about that. All of this, like, he's one of the best on the issue. We just give him all of his fucking roses for at least having these discussions. He just drips it in the absolute most charitable framework possible. And this is still the response. He gets the absolute fucking just on the ground throwing a complete tantrum. It's embarrassing. And anybody that does this has no fucking argument. They have no argument to stand on. This is the same, like, things that people used to get made fun of on college campuses. That Gavin and I are always like, no, dude, lefties don't act like that. Like, I have a real argument and I'll pummel you with it if you fucking come at me. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's how you have to be. You have to be composed, clinical, bring fucking evidence. This lady's a tantrum machine. And she also she keeps freaking out about like slander and libel. Yet she's fucking making baseless accusations the entire time. Far more incendiary and far more baseless than, the just natural conclusions you would draw once she espouses a certain position.
Killed within the space of 4 weeks. And we know it's going to get much, much higher. And so many are children. Is there a moral line that Israel shouldn't cross? Or is their argument that they've got to get rid of Hamas, and in war, you have collateral damage? And in this case, it's the civilians who are living around Hamas. And it's awful, but that's what has to happen.
Every decent person found the Hamas massacre on October 7th reprehensible and morally unjustifiable. The question, though, is what does that mean that everything that Israel does in response becomes justifiable? And the answer is clearly not, just like everything the United States did in response to 9/11, which was also morally horrific and unjustifiable, killed 3,000 Americans. Everything that the United States did in response wasn't morally justifiable simply by virtue of the fact that they claimed to be doing it in the name of avenging 9/11. They tortured people. There were secret camps in Guantanamo. They invaded and destroyed Iraq, a country of 26 million people, giving rise to ISIS. The laws of war were created after World War II, ironically, when the world looked at what happened in World War II, the atrocities there, and said, we know there are going to be wars, but there have to be limits. You cannot collectively punish a population. That is a war crime because certain people in that country have done bad things. You cannot just bomb people indiscriminately without regard to civilian life. And how many tens of thousands or even 100,000 Palestinians does Israel have the right to kill in the name of trying to destroy Hamas? Of course, there are humanitarian limits and laws of war that were created after World War II that the Nuremberg Tribunal said apply to every country in the future, no matter how just your cause. And I thought that was the lesson of 9/11, that just because a country is enraged and acting with a quest for violence doesn't mean that everything they do in the name of avenging that terrorist attack becomes justifiable or morally defensible.
Okay.
Much of what the United States did wasn't, and much of what Israel's doing isn't either.
Okay, Glenn, powerful words.
Piers,
Thank you for
may I
joining
make
me.
one important point, if you don't mind?
we've run out of time, but I will get you back on the program because you've been a terrific guest tonight. I've enjoyed that debate. It's been
last thing
fiery.
I just want to say is that Jews have led the protests. Jews have actually led the protests.
You said it.
Jews calling for a
You said it,
ceasefire.
and I
Does
appreciate
Brooke
it.
No, they
consider them
haven't.
to be
And Glenn
Hamas?
has no
Okay, I've got to
conception of
leave
the
it
laws
there.
of
I'm
armed
sorry,
conflict.
Pat.
Hamas
Thank you
is
very
putting
much indeed to my
civilians in
panel.
harm's way,
I
specifically
appreciate you
so
all
Glenn can go on
joining
Boy.
me, Glenn, Brooke, Wajahat. Thank you very much indeed.
Oh wow, that was a bit of a doozy, isn't it? Oh, bruv. No, that was great. That was a great little shit show right there.